right, the SEC Network's Peter Burns joining me on the Georgia Show today. Peter, you are a busy man, so thank you for giving me a few minutes today. I reached out to you last week because you set off this chain of worry and anxiety and fear inside of the Georgia fan base that I didn't think was possible.
I did. I'm
you
trying
were
to
part
figure
of
that
it.
out.
You were part of it. You weren't by yourself in this. But this rat poison, this comment that Georgia was going to go 15-0, beat everybody by double digits. Are you wanting to take that comment back after Georgia's Kent State performance?
Hell no. It's I mean, again, you know what was funny is, Erie, we were talking about this today, Wes, on our show with Chris Doring, is the fact that, like, there's certain times you watch a game and you're like, oh, there are some literal concerns, like there are some issues there. And, you know, me and Benjamin Watson, everybody were in studio watching this Georgia game against Kent State kind of transpire. And we're like, all right, what do you think? What are we feeling here? Is this going to be like he's going to tear the paint off of the walls in the locker room or post game? And so we were kind of waiting for that moment. And afterwards, Wes, we started looking at it going, you know what? The fact that the fact that he's sitting there post game and he's like, this is a learning experience for us. Like, we needed this game, almost gave me like even more of a sense like, hey, he knew that they were going to have a stinker at some point. He's almost in a weird way, Wes, like, I guess, happy that this happened. And I did not expect that. But I think that's the mark of a coach who knows how good his team is, that there was not really any panic of getting his guys back on track.
Yeah, I kind of think last year about how people observed some of the same tendencies with Saban with a younger team. He wasn't going to tear into him too much when they didn't have the best game. And I don't know if Kirby's doing that or not. I don't want to put words in his mouth. But, you know, I saw him really peel the paint off of Ladd McConkey's helmet after he muffed that punt. And then as the game went on, Ladd really had a tough game. But then he bounced back and still finishes as Georgia's leading receiver. So I think there's a lot of positives to take from that.
And Wes, they kept going back to it. I noticed after the last, I think the second fumble, we're like, oh, man. I mean, like, most guys are going to be in the doghouse, especially on an NFL level. And it felt like the next play that they dialed up was something that went deep out to Ladd, an opportunity to kind of keep him involved right now. So, yeah, I think that was a point to where it's like, man, it was – and even Stetson talked about it, right? Like, hey, man, I don't even know if we were awake on a noon game against Kent State. Now, hey, you better get it out of your system now before you get into kind of the bulk of that schedule here in late October.
Peter Burns, Chris Doring on SEC This Morning, weekdays on SiriusXM, and then you have the simulcast each Monday and Friday on the SEC Network, which is pretty sweet. So let me take a guess. I didn't have an opportunity to catch the show today. But the storylines today, Hendon Hooker is now the Heisman favorite. Billy Napier made a tough call or two in Knoxville. What else was the story of the weekend for y'all?
Yeah, I mean, I think what it was in a weird way, like Tennessee won a game that traditionally, West, it feels like they lose. And that's the second time they've done that this year. And like in years past, I feel like they would have gone on the road at Pittsburgh and lost that game earlier in the year, but they won it. And the second part of it is I think they would have definitely lost the game against Florida, and they found a way to get over a hump. And I likened it almost to, LSU for a long time had that kind of bug about, hey, can you win that big non-conference game on the road? Well, the year that they won it all in 2019, they go up on the road. They were challenged against Texas, and they came back a winner. Then it was the big bugaboo that they couldn't get over was, of course, the Alabama hump, and they finally got over it. So does this unlock like a next level? I don't know, because Georgia's still the 800-pound gorilla, and Alabama's still 700-pound gorilla. I still think it takes them a while, but and in a weird way, I don't know how about you felt about this, Wes, but like I almost felt better about Florida in a losing effort, like just because I saw how good Anthony Richardson can be when they put him in the right position, and he looked real comfortable, just like he did against Utah. Yeah,
I will say I think that has a lot to do with Tennessee's defense, maybe. But
fair.
The thing that I was impressed with, though, was that Neyland was a scary place to play again. I mean, there were games over the past few seasons where better teams came in and took the crowd out of it. So I was impressed by that. You know about live mascots at LSU? We do too here in Athens.
Yeah.
Who wins in a fight between Mike the Tiger and Uga?
Well, The question is how long could Uga stay around? I feel like Uga is the Kent
Uga's
State.
had a nap. I'll say Uga's had a nap on his
Okay,
ice
so
pack.
it's post-snap.
Yeah.
Okay, this is important. Again, I still think Uga is the Kent State to Mike the Tigers, Georgia in this equation, just because, I mean, we're talking, sheer size. I mean, are we talking the same age? Are we talking like
No, I think
four-year-old
it's
Uga,
like
or like
Mike the
what are we doing?
Tiger in his cage, like peak performance, Mike the Tiger.
Yeah, I'm guessing Mike could kind of play with his food just a little bit. I'm guessing 4.5 to 5 minutes. Like UFC, it wouldn't make the second round.
Okay.
Like if we built a mascot SEC octagon, I don't think the ring girls would come out for the second round. I think that's fair.
That's respectable. It's
now, what if we add the gator? What if we add a live gator into this equation? I mean, you're the expert here. Well, how does that change the dynamics?
Florida's missing out here. I think there's a lot to be said for a live mascot in college football. Everyone's concerned about college football being ruined because of NIL and the transfer portal, and that's what college football still has. So if you're a school that doesn't have a live mascot yet, it's time to get on board, and Florida stands to gain as much as anybody.
In Western Kentucky, too, because if I can see our live Hilltopper, I think that's a pretty damn fascinating type
then you
one
had
as well.
Then you had to bring a hill. I mean, that's kind of that's an
Yeah.
issue. But speaking of Tigers, Peter, LSU at Auburn, big one for a lot of reasons, especially if you're Brian Harsin. Georgia at Mizzou.
Hold on, I'm going to pause you real quick.
Yep.
Obviously, it's big for LSU fans. What do you think Auburn fans are pulling for right now? Like the majority. If I said coin flip right now, and you got to be on the point of what do Auburn fans want? Are they still all in it to hey, we can still make something out of the season after that win? Or they're like, listen, I think we kind of know the writing on the wall here. Like, let's just get over with it and figure out.
Let's tank for Dion.
I mean, I would be curious if you took like this blind, blind taste test of what Auburn fans are pulling for this weekend.
You know, we saw a lot of Auburn feelings sway back in favor of Harsin, I think, at this point in the summer when he made it through all of those personal allegations and all that stuff. And then you saw a lot of fans and players start to say, hey, we got Coach Harsin's back. We got Coach Harsin's back. Tank Bigsby comes back. I mean, all of that stuff, and you start to wonder, maybe Harsin does have some of the buy-in that he really needs. But as of today, I would imagine a lot of Auburn fans are ready to hit refresh on this thing. I mean,
yeah, and it's funny because then we start looking at it how in Arkansas they hit a refresh, and look what happened with Sam Pittman, and hitting the ground running. Yeah. I mean, Heupel, my goodness, is there a better example right now of a team that was left in the doldrums? I mean, Tennessee, Wes, couldn't find a coach. I mean, it was like
to me, yeah.
And sure enough, if you find the right guy now, and the scheduling doesn't do Auburn any help. Obviously, right? I mean, having to face the SEC West every single year and Georgia, like it's almost like, all right, let's just wait until 2024 when hopefully, we got Texas and Oklahoma in and everybody's in the same division at some point and they change up the scheduling of it. But it's tough, man. It's a tough job right now, and it kind of makes you appreciate the job that Gus Malzahn did while he had his time there.
Oh, no doubt about it. And Gus has a new vest and a new shade of hair down there at UCF, and he's really.
Was that the craziest when Gus just turns off the visor and he's like, I'm not dying this thing anymore. I'm going to be who I am anymore. I'm just going to play off when I want. Just own it. And he's living his best life down there right now.
So as far as those Tigers go, LSU and Auburn, Georgia at Missouri now. I mean, what a way to lose a game against Auburn this past weekend. Which group of Tigers do you think has the worst weekend coming up?
I feel bad for Missouri. If for no other reason, like somebody had to be the opponent that Georgia was going to face after laying an egg. And, I saw that I think Vegas puts about it like a 28 point. Shouldn't say Vegas. The Football Power Index makes them about a 28 point differential in that game for legal reasons.
I don't gamble, Peter, but I have been just horrible at Georgia spreads this season. I've been decent because I gotta put some ink down and make a proclamation for our readers and all that stuff. But I haven't been able to nail this Georgia team this year. They're tough.
Well, it's funny because when they're dominant, it's great, like we saw against Oregon. But I think one of the things we're seeing, and it's kind of tough for odds makers, not just yourself, is to figure out with the transfer portal, West, when you got a guy like Kirby Smart and he's got a bunch of 4-star and 5-star guys, you know what you got to do with 4-star and 5-star guys and recruits is you got to give them some playing time, probably extra playing time than you did 5-6 years ago before the transfer portal had really hit. So, I mean, the fact I looked it up before we came on, I think 27 guys have caught a pass for Georgia this year, and 19 guys have rushed the ball. Like that's unheard of with a team, even in blowout moments. So I think that's one of the things that it's tough to prognosticate there because Kirby gives a bunch of younger guys. He has to give a bunch of younger guys looks, or all of a sudden, you get guys going, man, I'd rather go somewhere else to go actually transfer and play.
Yeah, I don't know if you watched Stranger Things, but I've said that Todd Monken's offense is like the upside down of college football because Bowers is the leading rusher in the game. And then a few weeks ago against Oregon, and then against Samford, I think Kenny McIntosh, the running back, was the leading receiver. So all these things are just, I don't know if it's a byproduct of recruiting. I think that's a great point. Just show guys, hey, no matter where you play, you're going to get the ball if you're good enough.
I mean, Brock Bowers has as many rushing touchdowns as Kentucky football through 4 weeks.
That's scary.
That's crazy right now. Incredible.
I said that he looks like a highlight film of like a 1920s football team, like the Four Horsemen at Notre Dame. He's just this body. He is exasperated by the time he hits the goal line, but no one can figure out how to take the proper angle to get him down. It's really remarkable.
Like before the movies, like the 20s, like the talkies that you would go in and they would hold like these like highlight reels of like, there's Newt Rockne winning one for the keeper. Like, literally there's Brock Bowers in black and white, like choppy film. And he's got like the receding hairline. Like I'm still a firm believer that we need to check the birth certificate because it feels like one of those little league guys like Danny Almonte a couple years that we find out like, well, he's actually 28 years old and it would not surprise me whatsoever. And we get him one more year from him, which is absolutely out of control right now.
Doesn't seem legal. Last one for you, Peter. You're in a house divided. Wife's a Bama fan. You're in a show divided. Doring, obviously, a Gator great. How tough is it to navigate these waters when LSU plays Bama and when the Tigers play Florida?
It's tougher. It's much easier when it's me and Doring kind of going back and forth because we've had this great bet over the last couple of years and we got to do something outlandish. And despite Florida being like 20-point favorites the last couple of years, he's had to dress up like an Oktoberfest waitress. He's had to dress up like the Tiger King, all these stupid things because Florida keeps losing. Where it's tougher is with the LSU, Alabama, and my wife. As we celebrate our 7-year anniversary today, I realized that LSU has only beat Alabama like once since we even started dating. And so that's a little bit more difficult to kind of navigate. And especially now, Wes, that we've got 2 kids under 5. And so like, I want them to be LSU fans, but then at the same point, I'm like, well, but mom's team is better. Yeah. And it's just so disheartening. I'm like, I don't want them to know. But I do tell them this. I'm like, if you want excitement, be an LSU fan. Because you have no idea. It's like the highest of highs and the lowest of absolute lows. Like, if you're Alabama, you're just kind of, okay, we're great. Okay, we didn't. Okay, we're great. Like, you need to know, like, the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. And at LSU, we get it all.
I'm telling you, man. I felt the same way about Georgia winning last season. I'm good with one. I only needed one. I've been through so many highs and lows. I know LSU's been through some crazy times too. I'm going to take it. I'm good with it. But we'll see what happens.
To come full circle on this whole thing, right? It's like I had a lot of people, Wes, like you let off this great podcast about talking about, Georgia fans are in my mentions going, don't say that. I'm like, Kirby, I don't even think that Kirby Smart knows I exist as a human being. So nothing I say is actually going to penetrate what he's trying to tell the team. If anything, he's going to use it as an advantage. But I think on the flip side of it, it's like, dude, if you can't like peacock this thing after your first title in 40 years with this good of a team, like this is a fun part about being a college football fan. Like the nervousness is absolutely gone. It's like a golfer that finally wins his first major. It's like, dude, absolute pedal to the metal right now. So, I mean, again, drink it in because I think they're an incredible team once again.
Yeah, we've said it. It's not for the fans to worry about the rat poison. Y'all got to soak it up and enjoy it. You can
Absolutely.
also enjoy SEC This Morning, Sirius XM, and on the SEC Network on Monday and Friday, and every day on Sirius XM. Peter Burns, thank you so much, my man. Enjoy this weekend. We only get so many of these each year, and you guys make it really fun. Appreciate your time.
Appreciate it, buddy. Thanks.